Welcome to the Business Women Australia podcast show, the podcast that brings together industry leaders to discuss the latest trends, insights and strategies. So sit back and relax, let's get inspired by the amazing women who are shaping the future of professional women in Australia. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Hello, I'm Karina Seng, Financial Services Transformation and Strategy Leader, founder of Work Besties and one of your hosts here on the BWA podcast. I am honoured to welcome two remarkable women to the show today. Dr. Robyn Smith-Walley, OAM, is a Wilman, Kenyang and Minang Noongar woman with more than 35 years working in cultural education, community development and Aboriginal leadership. And joining her is Gonzalez-Skuja, founder of Frondog, a coaching and development organisation and part of the organising committee for the Waangk Noongar Women's Summit.
Kaya, ngan ko Robyn Smith-Walley, ngan Moorditj, Wilman, Kenyang, Minang Buja, Noongar Buja. I acknowledge today that Elle and I sit and stand on Wajak Noongar Buja. We are in the Boorloo region of Perth, Noongar country, and pay our respects to the elders past and present and those who took care of this country for a long period of time. We are today in a education institute, and a lot of education has been taking place on this country for generations, thousands of generations before us. So we proudly acknowledge that we are here today and very grateful to our elders past and present for their enduring care and conservation of this beautiful land, and happy to be here speaking with you and sharing this beautiful platform with Elle.
Oh, thank you so much, Robyn. So National Reconciliation Week this year has a theme, All In, and I want to sit with that for a moment. Because all in doesn't mean showing up all at once. It doesn't mean a post on social media or a donation to feel better. It means ongoing curiosity, courageous listening, respectful relationships, and a willingness to act on what we learn. Today's conversation is an invitation to do exactly that, to listen and really listen to what Noongar women are holding, what they are asking for, and what it looks like to show up as a genuine ally, not to fix or to lead, but for us to be all in. So welcome to you both, and I'm so glad that you're here joining us for this conversation. Robyn, there's a Noongar word at the heart of this summit, Waangk. Before we go anywhere else, can you take us into what that word means and what does it hold that the English word simply cannot carry?
Thank you for that. So firstly, I would like to acknowledge our dear Brigadier Matriarch Yorga, Auntie Liz Hayden. So this project that Elle and I have the privilege to be working on is actually a strategic idea and concept that comes from Auntie Liz, or Dr. Liz Hayden, who completed her PhD in 2024. And the word that Auntie Liz has chosen for this project, Waangk, is about holding. And just to quote her explanation, she says that a woman's strength is her holding, Waangk. She holds wisdom, healing and connection with great dignity, and all the while holding family and country. So I guess for Auntie Liz, her deep inner connection with this word is also about the life that she has lived on her matriarchal country and the lives of the women, her mother and grandmothers and all those Noongar women who have lived on this country and given birth, being the fabric of this country, the holders of the wisdom, the knowledge, the medicine, the bearers of children, the carers of the country as well. So that's what Auntie Liz's concept for this project and the summit that we'll talk about a little bit later in the podcast means. And I hope that I've done her, the best that I can in defining that word and the meaning. It is a word that belongs to our Noongar language here, We have 14 different clans in Noongar country in the southwest of Western Australia and different dialects of that language.
It really sounds like the women are at the centre of all of this, with the culture, the stories, the relationships, all that knowledge and holding across those different generations to bring it all together. So what does it mean that it's always been women's work, and has it always been this profound, this feeling?
It absolutely has. As I was saying earlier, this country that we are on is matriarchal country. So we have some words in our language. For instance, the word buja for us means country. And when a woman is pregnant, she is bujari. So that connect between country and the giving of life has the same meaning. The word Waangk means the sun, but it also means mother. So we have never broken our connection with this country and with the nature that sustained our people for over 2,000 generations. And our men are very important in this journey that we are on. We couldn't do this work if we weren't walking beside our men who have their role, in our community and in our societies. But we as the women, and I'm speaking on our country here in Noongar country, it is matriarchal country, and we've been the ones that have been holding the women's knowledge and the knowledge for our children and the future generations. Obviously, there's things that, men's business that we aren't to speak about, but our women have been holding, this country, our children, our grandchildren, our mothers, our grandmothers for a very long time. And I certainly understand that I walk on the shoulders and in the footsteps of some very, very strong Noongar women in my family line. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here.
Oh, I love hearing the thread through all of that as well, and how it really speaks to such a strength for women and of country, and how it's quite celebrated. I mean, it's a very different way of looking at it, I think, I grew up in Australia, so I was born here and grew up here, though I have Chinese heritage. It's just so nice to hear it from that perspective, I think, and it's a reminder for us that our ancestors of this land have such strong power and strength in holding and the matriarchal society. So it's beautiful. Thank you. And Elle, you came to Australia from the other side of the world. So when did you first truly understand what you're witnessing in the community, and how did you learn about this community and these concepts?
This is, I think, a beautiful story of reconciliation and love and connection. So I moved to Australia in 1999 with my first husband, and came to Perth in 2000. Actually, we started off on the East Coast. And when you move here, I don't know if it was just my experience, but it really feels like the country tests you. I was really homesick, but I wasn't in my country. I was on Noongar, another country. And shortly after arriving here and starting work at Anglican WA, I met two beautiful Noongar women, Josie Hanson, rest in peace, and Olive Woods. And I asked permission from them. I said, is it okay for me to be here? And they said yes. And so that was the right way to come on country and be here, because I learned that through listening to them, and even protocols. If Auntie was to go up to Yamatji country, she would need to have there's a right way of doing that. So for me to come from the UK here, there's a right way to do that. Anyway, shortly after that, my marriage ended, and then my mother passed away very suddenly. And Josie and Olive just took me in their arms and wrunging me and held me. And what is beautiful about Noongar culture is that when your mother passes, you get a little mum. And Josie became my little mum, and she said, you're my daughter now. And so that relationship was built on grief, and then also on deep love and respect. And she passed away 5 years ago. So that was another big loss for not just me, but the whole community. if you knew her, she just impacted you, and she was an incredible woman. And so I always hold her very, very dear. Every day I think of her, and so that's kind of how I became to be in this community, in this conversation, connected with Aunty Robyn, and it's just such a blessing and an honour, and just beautiful culture that I think we're all honoured to be here, and can be a part of. And I think it's tragic that there's been that separation that's happened in Australia through colonisation, and through there's been deep pain that's happened. And that's what belonging is all around. It's about that healing from the past, strengthening culture, and how we can move forward together. And I think it's beautiful that Aboriginal people continue to extend that invitation to non-Aboriginal people to do that, to walk with, in spite of everything that's happened here. But we as allies, we need to bear witness to that. And the truth-telling piece is really important. We can't change the past, but we can acknowledge it, and we can have empathy and compassion and witness it and say, yeah, this is our shared story. These terrible things did happen. How do we heal, though? And how do we reconnect? And I'm really interested in the space of decolonising our thinking. And if colonisation is about separation, then how you counter that is through connection, and through healthy connection, and what that looks like. And that's, I think, what allyship looks like. It's about being the best that we can be, and supporting each other and learning from each other, and being humble in that space.
It's a lot of learning, isn't it? And I think we spoke a while ago, a couple of months ago, around how country and land is built on a lot of layered grief and trauma, and it's that truth-telling and the healing that helps us to move forward. As you said, like, you acknowledge what's happened. We can't change what's happened in the past, but we need to learn and heal together. So, Robyn, your Churchill Fellowship took you around the world to study how countries do truth-telling and healing after historical injustice. So what have you learnt from those different communities, and what does Australia still have to move forward with and reckon with?
Sure. So I want to acknowledge that I did that fellowship in 2023 with a colleague, Jodie Nunn, and Jodie's with Reconciliation WA. And we, through our truth-telling, did travel the world, and we looked at First Nations people who had gone through a truth-telling process, and what we, researched and experienced during that, those experiences, looking at truth-telling that had actually worked, and the lessons, I guess, that people could learn from how it was done in certain places, the successes and the not successful processes. And so we actually did develop a framework for our state, because our state government had made a commitment to a massive truth-telling project here in WA, the Waangk project, which was about the prison island off the coast of Fremantle here, which for over 100 years was a prison island, and thousands of men were brought down from the regions throughout the state and up from the bottom of the state and imprisoned over there, and many of those men were leaders within their communities. So essentially there was a lot of, great wisdom taken away from those places. It had never been acknowledged. The island was turned into a holiday resort and had been for many years, and a burial ground was used as a camping ground for holiday makers. And our elders had been fighting for 30 to 40 years trying to get the government to acknowledge and memorialise Waangk. So we were going into that work, and that was kind of our motivation, that we would bring back this framework to look at how truth-telling can take place, because we are on that journey now, and just looking at ways to be mindful that it's done the right way, that protocols are followed depending on where the work is carried out, listening to the people. It must be led by the people, designed by the people who are telling their stories. And I think the biggest learning that we got from this was that whatever truth-telling takes place, the storytellers and the people who are sharing their experiences must always be left better off than when they started. So it can be a very dangerous, slippery slope that you can go down if everything is not thought about and the measures are all not in place. To help to heal the people and make sure that all the protocols are followed and it's a safe process for people, and for government to understand that you can't just open up this truth-telling process and then not have all the measures in place after to keep supporting people ongoing. Because for some people, we found through our research, it was the first time they'd actually told their stories and their experience of being taken off their land, off their parents, and put into institutions, and the trauma that they'd carried coming out of those institutions and trying to fit back into their community. And sometimes you cannot fit back in. And for some people, it was the first time they'd ever told those stories. So, some places were very, very good in all the support the clinical support they would offer during and post the process, and others, it wasn't done so well. So really it was about us bringing back a framework that would guide and advise people. A lot of it our people already know. We're not telling our people, our Aboriginal First Nations people, how to do it successfully, because we know what works for us, but it's just guiding all the other bodies that are involved in this process. So yes, it was an incredible journey, 6 weeks of travel, 120 hours of flights.
Wow.
We went to 6 different countries, and so grateful to all the incredible people who shared their time with us and shared their stories with us and trusted us.
Wow, that's amazing work. And part of that, the listening part, teaching us allies and people who want to learn, that's listening more with humility and without defensiveness, and just letting us hold the space for the people to be able to tell the stories. As you said, sometimes this could be the first time that they've ever voiced that out loud. And so what do you want to say to us who are listening about listening without that defensiveness and with humility? What does that actually ask for someone?
I think it asks people, it's sort of that generative listening where you're not just downloading, you are actually presencing yourself and being there in the space, no judgment. You are just, because when you listen at that deep level, you are actually more genuinely receiving and feeling and affected by what people are telling you. So I think it's about absolutely presencing yourself and not judging anything that's coming, but allowing it to come to you, because physically I think you can feel when you listen, too many times people want to have a solution for you. And I know one of our old people or somebody has an expression about, 2 ears and 1 mouth. So, just close your mouth and listen, because sometimes people have too many solutions for us and want to offer us advice on how we can do things or speak for us. We have been spoken about, we've been spoken for. Now it's time for us to speak, because we know what works for us. We know our journey that our old people have been on. We know our own stories and our own journey, and we understand. And so the work that Auntie Liz is doing, along with the team, with the Burringham Project, is about reaching out to women in the communities and women who don't normally have the opportunity to have a voice. And these guys have been on the road. How many meetings, Elle?
Oh, we've had 25 community consultations, pretty much all over Noongar, and it's been incredible. Even if there's just one woman or two women in the room sharing their stories and having that safe yarning space to do that. And that may be the first time that they've unburdened something. I think back to one meeting where a woman spoke, and at the end her face had changed, like it had just softened. But it was allowing the voices to be heard, and honouring everybody's story. Everyone has a voice. Everybody has a story to tell. And, you know, I think not just Noongar women, but all women, we have for centuries been silenced.
Yes.
And that must be because we may be a little bit of a threat, because we've got really cool things to say. Yeah. And we know, you know, we know as women, we have deep intuition, and that's powerful. So it's how we shift that and use those voices to create connection, and to move forward and hopefully just have a healthier world. Yeah. But you know, it's the listening and it's the sharing at that level, and it's not forced, it's not fake. It's connection. Yeah. And it's beautiful when that happens. That synergy is just beautiful.
And I think that's a part of the healing and the transformation work that we are developing with this particular project, because as Elle said, they listened to this woman maybe tell her story for the first time, and she had a physical transformation. So, you know, that is why we are focusing on our Noongar women here in our country, because they are voices that haven't been previously heard. And we have a lot going on. We have a lot of our, you know, vast numbers of our Aboriginal children in out-of-home care. The percentages are just through the roof, and maybe only half to less of those children are actually in Aboriginal families in out-of-home care. So you've got children being taken out of their cultural environment and put into another environment where, you know, they don't have a belonging, or they don't understand who they actually are. And we've already been through that with the stolen generation. You know, we don't want another repeat of that. We as Aboriginal women and our women know what it is that we need to heal ourselves and to transform. And that is what this work is about. So there will be lots of truth-telling happening, and it's already been happening with the community consultations and during the summit. And we're hoping that then we can go back to government and say, hey, we know what we want. Our women have spoken. This is how we need to do things. Trust us and let us, because we have been holding this space for thousands of generations, and we will continue to. And I loved, Elle, when you spoke about all women, because it is about all of us as women. You know, all women are holding much more than they probably even realise, you know, in themselves, their families, in their, you know, careers, whatever it might be. We're all holding a lot.
So let's talk about the summit, and that has the two themes of holding and healing as well. So what is the summit? What's the main purpose of the summit, and what will be going on during the summit itself?
Do an overview?
Yeah, I'll do an overview. So we are going to bring as many Noongar women together. We're hoping for 1,000 on country, out on a farm on Balladon country. It's beautiful. We did a visit the other week, and it is just this beautiful space, and you can just feel there's hills around, and you can feel like country's holding you while you're there. So we're looking at 4 days. There will be a fire lit as people arrive, and that fire will burn for the whole of the 4 days. There will be ceremony, healing practices, workshops, yarning circles. But the point is bringing people together, and it will be the largest gathering of Noongar women in living memory. And, you know, back to that colonial stuff, that's always been about separation. So the power of bringing people together to collectively heal, and to learn from each other. And I think having the elders and the matriarchs there to share their wisdom and their knowledge and their cultural practice and the cultural knowledge down the generations, to strengthen generations to come into the future, is incredibly important. The strengthening and restoration of identity, cultural identity that's been broken because of colonisation, because of massacres, because of stolen generation, is just tragic. So to restore that is very much part of that healing journey. And I think the knock on, the ripple effect of that is then, country heals, and then the women heal the country, but then that impacts on the rest of wider society as well. We talked about layers of trauma earlier. We've got convicts that have come here. That would have been a traumatic experience. Displaced persons after the war, refugees. We're all there's layers of it, but it needs to start with First Nations people in order to move forward and have unified and healthier community.
And is it for, you mentioned 1,000 Noongar women, are allies able to come as well to listen to the stories and to understand the healing that's required?
So we have Friends of the Summit, so there is opportunity to volunteer there, and there will be opportunity on the last day for allies and supporters to come. We're putting out corporate sponsorship, prospectus, and we're looking for philanthropic support as well to fund it. We want as many grassroots women there as possible, and we want to remove all obstacles to them for coming to the summit. So certainly there will be an invitation for Friends of the Summit to be there on that last day and witness, which is going to be pretty special.
Yeah.
So how do people get involved where, if they want to provide financial support, the philanthropic support, or volunteer? Like, how can they find out more information about giving that support to you?
So there's a website being built at the moment, which will hopefully go live in a week and a half. And I imagine by the time this podcast goes live, we'll have that up and running. But it will be barunging.com.au, I think will be the website. In the meantime, my email address, I think is going to be available. So that's elspeth@frondeg.com.au. And so people can contact me that way as an interim measure.
I think it'd also be great if you could talk through the sponsorship model, because when you explained it to me, I loved how it was like an evolutionary model, how people can get involved, and you can get involved in the stage or in that part of the journey where you're comfortable at starting, when you're ready with. It's called the Bindi Bindi journey. So would you like to talk about that model?
About Bindi Bindi? Sure. So Bindi Bindi is butterfly. And we all know the story of the butterfly. There's the egg, Nunuk, and then there's the caterpillar, and I'm sorry, I forget the name in Noongar for that. And then there's the cocoon, the Maya, and then the Bindi Bindi, so the transformational journey of the butterfly. So that's our sponsorship tier. So you start at Nunuk, which I think was at $5,000, and then up to the Bindi Bindi, which is the pollinator level, which is $100,000. And then we've got the Maya, which is 40,000. I think the other was 10 from memory. So that looks at those different stages of transformation. After that, healing, transformation, empowerment, growth, and moving forward. And then I love that pollinator of just spreading that joy, I think, of the journey at the end, so that others can then come in and be involved. That's the corporate sponsorship tiers that we chose, the elders chose, and I think it's beautiful.
Allows allies to help out in a very accessible way, I think. Yeah. And like for me also, I'd like to know, when you're an ally, sometimes, or you want to help and support, sometimes you don't know the appropriate way, and it's kind, and I am from a Chinese background, so sometimes I get this as well from that aspect of tokenism or helping in a performative manner. So for us to support as allies, what does that mean to you? I'll put this to Robyn, for Indigenous women, and so as allies, what would you like to see from us as a really genuine way to support that doesn't look like it's performative or from a tokenistic perspective?
Well, I think, as we've talked about at the start of this story today, Aboriginal women have been disempowered on this country, on our own country. We are now at a time where our voices need to be heard and we need support. We cannot do this on our own. A lot of this work these guys have been, doing sort of at their own will. But it means for us, our allies to come with us, to sit with us, to listen to us, to allow us to come up with our solutions, but even for you to be holding us. Because Auntie Liz talks about Burringan as that holding. We will hold each other, but we also need support to do that holding. So however that comes about, that support, we need women who, in government, women who are influential in different ways to speak to different people, because we need also to be financially independent to be able to do this work too. We can't always be dependent upon government to allow us to do what we're doing. What would be ideal for us is to have an institute or a centre for Aboriginal women to be able to have all their business dealt with in this one place. So imagine if we had a group of allies who are able to support us in that process. I think in these very early stages, we do need people to understand the work that needs to be done, to hear the voices of our women who are crying out to take back control of our destiny and the destiny of our children and the future of our future generations. So I think to be present, to be listening, and then to be saying, how can I help you? Not this is how I can help you, but how can I help you? And allow us to have those conversations with you. Elle, you might have another idea coming from another perspective.
I think it's just always about doing your best.
Yeah.
Just do your best. Be kind and curious. But yeah, was I my best self today? Was I my best self in that conversation? And not from a patronising point of view. I had a conversation. We had the same conversation a few months ago, and with an ally, and it was like, well, how can we support? We were trying to sort of work it out, and it was like, is it scaffolding? And it's like, well, no, it's not scaffolding, because Noongar women are strong. It's not that. I think it's like a hug. I think it's like we're here, and we want to see things better. I want every day to wake up and to be in a better place, and I want things to be better for everybody. And how can we all contribute to that? And so, that barunging, I think, is what that is. But it's about being humble. I'm not any better or worse than anyone else. We're all connected. We're all human beings spinning around on this planet. And
I think sort of extending on what Elle's saying, in 2029 here in Western Australia, there is the marking of, the bicentennial. And this is what we've been saying to government and other people. Don't just offer us activations and things to do in 2029. This work that we're starting to do now, and starting with our women, and our men will come on that journey with us, but we need to start with the Budja and with the matriarchs and the Yorgas of the land and the country. We want things to be different in 2029. We want to be speaking, our voices to be heard. We want to be seen differently. We want to be standing strong and proud in 2029. We don't want everything to be the same once all those activations and events are over. This has to be meaningful change, and it needs to start now. I think that's a really big thing. And I think with the current and existing political climate, we need to be so present. We need to be seen and we need to be present. And we need allies to be able to speak up for us and support us. If you see something that doesn't look right or doesn't sound right, then call it out. Be a voice. Go home and speak to your families. Have those dinner table conversations with your families about, how we can do things differently for the future. I have, small granddaughters. I would like things to be different for them when they are growing and when they are women. I want them to be walking proud and to be acknowledged and to understand that they belong here. They have a very, very old and long belonging, but also we all need to walk together. We all need to be walking this road together, or this journey together, because as Elle was saying, nobody's better than anybody else. But we just need a call for, more equity and more inclusion and, the whole diversity piece. Please allow us to stand in our strength as First Nation people here. We have so much knowledge and advice to offer if people want to hear us, so much wisdom.
A lot of it comes down to, I think what you said before, is that truth listening and just being there to listen, to hold the space. And like holding is like what Elle, you said, it's like a hug. It's not scaffolding. You're not asking for us to provide advice or solutions, but to be there to hold and to listen and support, because you do have a lot of strength and so much history and knowledge and wisdom. You just need people to acknowledge that and hold the space for you to be able to tell those stories.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a part of this whole change that has to come is that, everything that our women needs to be available to them in a different way, in a way that they can relate to, in a way that's where the services are developed for them, where they don't have to feel that things are out of reach, for them to be able to heal themselves and to get themselves on track, whatever that might be. We need to be able to determine our future. We need self-determination of what happens with us and our families and our community. And we need a bit more of a voice on what's happening on our country as well.
Is that one of the outcomes also from the summit, is to come up with the action plans from your own experiences, your own wisdom and knowledge, to provide that to whether it's government bodies or other professional bodies, to say, this is what we need. We have come together as a community to say, this is what we need and this is how you can support us. So putting that forward as the action plan, rather than what you've mentioned, sometimes governments like to do and say, this is what we can do for you, hold an activation or something like that.
Yeah, I think absolutely. And to quote an incredible woman that we've had the pleasure to speak with in the last few weeks here in Perth, when her memoirs were launched, her reconciliation memoirs through Reconciliation WA, that was the incredible Dr. June Oscar AM. June actually developed a women's institute, Wiyani Thangani Women's Institute, based in Canberra. But during that time, she did research, or in the process of building this institute, she travelled and researched and spoke to women all over the country, even women off the mainland on the islands that are connected to us, spoke to them about what their lives were like and what it is that they would like to see be different. And through the work that she's doing in her institute, it's very powerful work. We see many parallels in the work that we're doing with June's work as well. It's about providing that voice for our women to be heard and to make changes. The system is not working for us. We need to do things our way. We've compromised enough. We've given up so much. We've lost so much. It's going to be a better place when our women stand in our strength on our country, taking care of our families, being successful, financially successful, entrepreneurial, whatever it is that women are seeking. Why can't we have that? Why can we not have that? That is my question. That's the changes that we need to see. We don't need the figures of incarceration and children in out-of-home care, homelessness, all of that. We don't need those numbers to be jumping. We need them to be coming down, and we need to help our women stand in their power, take ownership of who they are, take ownership of their belonging, and be a different country, be a different society, be a different place. And we can do that.
Yes, we can. It's all about coming together, I think it is, because we can all help each other. No one's better than anybody else. But through anything, when you come together and work on things together and celebrate the differences and people's backgrounds, knowledge, and especially in this case, the wisdom and the strength, anything can happen. You just need the people to hold the space and listen to what you know and what you know will work for your people.
That is right.
So, Robyn, what's one thing that you want the BWA community and non-Indigenous women who have listened to this entire conversation, what's just one thing that you want them to take away from this and action you want to see from them? So I know ambitious women love to jump to action. What action can I take? But we want to hear from you. What action would you like us to take to support you?
I think if I was speaking, from Auntie Liz's voice, I think she obviously knows that we need to be supported in this process. Please help us to make this happen. This summit is the start of our voices being heard, but just support us however you can. And like we were saying, it doesn't have to be performative. It can be in different ways. There are different strategies and, that we will be, I think, building out of all the work that we're doing. But listen to us, speak to your family, share these stories, be an ally wherever you can be, wherever, you can see that there's support needed or you need to speak up or have a voice. It's not being a voice on behalf of us. It's being an ally and supporting us. And Elle, you may have something else a bit more profound to say.
I don't know if I can be more profound than you. I think
perhaps, Elle, if you can tell us, like, what are the actionable steps that we can take to help support the summit?
Oh, look, darlings, if you've got some spare cash, send it our way. It's a big operation, 1,000 women. We need to gather around $1 million to run this. So it's, and I kind of think if 1,000 women gave $1,000, that would be the summit. Yeah. We'd have it. As simple as that. Or $100, whatever that looks like. But that certainly is, we need resourcing in that way.
Yeah.
And that would be wonderful. That would be such a blessing.
And it can be a tax deduction, can't it?
It can be a tax deduction.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're auspiced by WALI, West Australian Aboriginal Leadership Institute, which is fantastic. We've also had huge support from Curtin University, who have funded the community consultation, Communicare and Anglicare as well, my business and then my colleague's business, Kingling Creative as well. But, the resourcing is key as well as, just the allyship and that support and the encouragement from people. It's a hard slog, this journey. And so it's lovely to have, just people cheering us on or sending words of encouragement too, as we keep going.
And I think any other opportunities that, obviously your, not your readership, your membership, your listening people will all be connected to different things in different ways. So if there's something that you think, wow, this might be useful for the Burringan project, reach out to us, reach in and become a friend and an ally in that way. There's lots of different ways that we can connect as well. And, once the summit's over, we'll just be continuing to build this, and wherever there's opportunities for our women to have a presence, to be speaking, to be sharing messages, to be engaging, that's what we want to do. We don't want this to just be an activity or an activation that happens. And of course, it needs to be feel good and there has to be outcomes from it, but it needs to be ongoing as well. And I think the more presence that we as First Nations women have in the space where we can speak and tell our stories and show how incredible we are, that would be a wonderful thing that your listeners and your membership could do to help us. Anything, Opportunity, exactly.
And if you have if you are in a business where you have Noongar women staff and you want to send them to the summit as part of their cultural development, professional development, that's an option too.
Yes, you can send them along.
Amazing. And reminder on the dates of the summit as well. What are the dates?
Running from the 14th to the 17th of September. So very strategically placed ahead of the footy season or the grand final. 14th to the 17th, on country. So
amazing. So we'll put your details in the show notes to make sure that everyone listening can get in touch and provide their support and allyship and sponsorship for the summit as well. I think that's the key thing with a lot of things is the financial resources. So please get in touch with Elle to help out in that way.
And this is a grassroots initiative. This is coming from the women. It's nothing that's being imposed. And I think that's perhaps the point of difference. It's something that we've identified the women really want and need.
And it will take place, Karina and your listeners. It will happen. Obviously, the more support we can get, the more we'll be able to make it, a comfortable event and provide, the necessities that people are going to need. But however it works out, we know that this event will still go ahead because it has to. It's not aspirational. It will actually take place. So we would love people to support us however they think they can or feel they can.
And even more special that it's something that the Noongar women are calling for and that they want. It's built from really, really grassroots, from a need and a purpose. And so I can see that it will go ahead no matter what, because there's such a strong heart and purpose behind it. When you have something like that, you will just make it happen. But support makes it a lot easier. So please get in touch and help support this amazing project. But thank you both so much for the conversation today. I think I learned a lot, and I loved hearing how it's all the healing and the holding, and it's everyone coming together to do this, and for us as allies to hold the space for you and to listen and to not provide any solutions as well. Action through the support is what you need right now, and that's how we can start and get involved. So thank you so very much for this special conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Karina.
Thank you. So thank you all for listening. And if you would like to know more about BWA or to become a member, you can head to the Business Women Australia website. You can also find this episode on our website, on YouTube, Facebook, and your favourite podcast app as well. And then make sure you're also following Business Women Australia on socials to stay across upcoming events, stories, and opportunities to grow with an incredible national community of women in business. And of course, find out more about the summit that is being held in September. So thank you all again for listening.
You have been listening to the Business Women Australia podcast show. We hope you've enjoyed today's episode and gained some valuable insights to empower you on your journey. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to stay updated in our latest episodes. And if you're not already a member of Business Women Australia, what are you waiting for? Head to our website today and join so that you can connect with a thriving community of inspiring women across Australia. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.